Hey you guys, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. And like last week, this is the second time I'm filming this video. So, why does this keep happening? I really couldn't tell you, but you know, when things aren't in focus and you don't have a viewfinder. Yeah, I have a lot to talk about, and essentially this video was started out to be like how to describe myself, like personality-wise in books. And then turned into kind of the roadmap to my soul via books. So if you somehow wanted to get to know more about me, the best way to do it is through the books that are my favorites. And hi Kitty, I don't know if you can see him, probably not, but he's very touchy and he's very terrified of my brand new tripod. So yeah, let's just kind of get into it. So the first series on this list is one that I feel like everyone knows. They were pretty big movies, and then all of a sudden Disney tried to announce they were making the third movie like years after we had gotten the second movie, which made, or actually they were going to announce the fourth movie years after they had already made the third movie. So, but that is The Chronicles of Narnia by C.J. Lewis. Now, I love this story just because it's a children's story, and it was about children essentially saving the world. Well, like, and by saving the world, they figured out how to maneuver around the world around them during kind of a rough time in their life. So I was very happy to have read these books, to have watched the movies as a kid, because I didn't know that book to movie adaptations were a thing when I was younger. I don't know why, but that's how life is. So yeah, hi. But I definitely enjoyed it. I thought that when I read through the book, I didn't get myself fully immersed into it just because I knew what was happening and what was going to happen. But I think right about now would be a really good time for a reread, especially since, you know, Chronicles of Narnia, and I still have a really fat crush on the guy William Moseley, who played the High King Peter, so I think it's about time for me to rewatch the series. The next series on this list is one that I have yet to finish. I'm very ashamed, but we're getting to it. And that series is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. Now, I know I haven't finished it, so I can't really say it changed my life in a particular way, but this was kind of the introduction to Greek mythology. It was my introduction to Greek mythology, like I had said, and well, here we are now. Like, I read this in middle school, so here we are now. I'm about 22. Read this when I was probably, what, 10 or 11? So 11 to 12 years later. And I am now a slut for Greek mythology. I could probably tell you, I don't know, I don't have any extensive knowledge. I need to do more research and reading. But definitely I have a lot of knowledge on Greek mythology, and I could probably talk your ear up about it. And I still, to this day, hope one day, maybe, I will find out that I'm a demigod and I can control water. But that's never going to happen, so we're just going to stick to, you know, being bitter and reading the series and finishing it out. The next series on this list probably is a bit of a surprise since no one really likes to admit these books were a thing. And that is the Twilight Saga by Stephanie Meyer. Now before y'all jump on me, get me about the writing, I love the side characters. The side characters were absolutely gorgeous and stunning. I thought that she fleshed them out really well. Her main characters could use a little more work, but her side characters, wonderful, and I love them so much. Like, I reread the series sometimes because I just love, and rewatch the series because I just love the side characters so much. And Jacob. Can't forget about Jacob. But another reason why I loved it was because I didn't know, growing up, I didn't know how books were made. I didn't know who wrote them. And Stephanie Meyer was kind of the first person who I had gotten a face to in terms of reading the books that I loved. And it ended up me wanting to write more because, you know, she was an actual person with a name and wasn't just like a book. I don't know where I was going, but she was a person with a name. And then I found out that she had a master's in English literature, which drove me to take English literature in college. And now here we are, I have my bachelor's in creative writing and psychology. So let's just all give a round of applause to Stephanie Meyer for inspiring me to write more. The next series on this list, and definitely the last one, is The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. Now, I talk about Cassandra Clare in her books literally all the time. So this shouldn't be a surprise by the fact that it's kind of part of the roadmap to my soul, book-wise. But her cast of characters were so diverse. I loved it so much. Like, I mean, it could be a little more diverse, but, you know, baby steps, baby steps. It was just really diverse, and I loved it. I loved how the plot just kept growing and growing with every book. And honestly, seriously, gold. Like, hands down, if I wanted to write like a writing empire, essentially, with books, I would be really torn between Sarah J. Maas and Cassandra Clare. But right now, Cassandra Clare's like up here because Sarah J. Maas, I think, in my eyes, it's a little newer in terms of like the Empire writing. Like Cassandra Clare literally has nothing but Shadowhunter books out, and if I had to choose how to do about my writing career, probably hers. Granted, I would like to write more diverse things and different worlds, but you get what I'm trying to say. And on top of that, I ended up somehow, when I was still figuring out my writing style, kind of accidentally modeled my previous writing style off of hers. So now it's just kind of turned into something that I like, that is similar to hers, but not exactly. It's me, but I wouldn't have found it had I not been reading her books while I was writing. The next book in this list is one you guys probably aren't going to be surprised about. I have a tea talk about it. I talk about it frequently. I watched the movie and sobbed hysterically. And that is Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Now, I am part of the community. If you don't know that, you probably should watch my videos a bit more. But I am part of the LGBT community, and I just really enjoyed how this book kind of gave a written word to how I had been feeling up until the point that I had come out. And then on top of that, it became a movie, and it really solidified kind of how I was feeling the entire time. I had yet to come out and come to terms with myself. So I just wish that this book had been around when I was in that median, because back then I was kind of identifying with minor characters who aren't big parts of books that I loved reading, just for the sake of the fact that that's redundant, but just for the fact that they were LGBT and something about them just kind of struck a chord. So I cried in the original filming of this video, but I'm not going to do it because I don't have the words anymore. But essentially, it's a very important part of my life, and it will probably continue to be, because it's just a very important book and a very important movie, and I need to buy the movie so I can cry about it again. The next book on this list, we're starting to veer away from YA and into more classics, but that is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Now, I love Dorian Gray. I read it back in high school, loved it, read it again in college, loved it, and now I have 2 copies, and I'm probably going to be the person that will have multiple copies of one book, and it'll be Dorian Gray, and I won't be upset because it's Dorian Gray. Like, I don't know. Like, aside from the plot, it's like Oscar Wilde's writing is marvelous. I need to read more of his work. I have his short story collection that's sitting there. It's just wonderful, and Dorian Gray is so beautiful, and Ben Barnes is Dorian Gray, and the one guy from Penny Dreadful is Dorian Gray, are both equally beautiful people, and I'm very content with the world, knowing that the book of Dorian Gray has been published. I could go on and on and on and on, but I'm not going to. The next book in this list is one that I don't talk about often, which I'm very surprised because I love the movie and the book respectively for very different reasons, but that is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. Now, the book and the movie are 2 very different things, and if you think the book is going to be some weird children's movie, it is not. It's very explicit. So be wary, because I did not know that, and I was reading it and I was like, oh, okay, well, I shouldn't be reading this in public. But I loved it because it's so fantastical and the characters are so wonderful. And I love both the movie and the book for vastly separate reasons. And I don't know. It's just, like, it's not like Simon, where it's like I love them for very similar reasons despite the vast differences. For this one, I love them because they are vastly different from one another. And on top of that, it's fantasy, and you guys know my niche is fantasy. So, you know, when I'm having a bad day, I watch Stardust. When I'm having a good day, I watch Stardust. If the day is particularly boring, I watch Stardust for background noise. And then I need to reread the book, but seriously, I read the book probably 6 times in the span of a week because it was so short, and I didn't have any other book to read, so I just kept rereading that every chance I got. So it's been kind of embedded into my memory. The last book in this list is one that, again, I don't talk about much, but it's also a classic, and that is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Now, I read this back in my freshman year of high school. Then I read it again, and I hated it. I thought Holden Caulfield was a pretentious asshole who just needed to get his shit together. And then I got to read it again in my senior year of high school, and it seemed to have clicked because he was losing his shit and I was losing my shit, and it all just made sense for him to be reacting that way because we were both losing our shit around, and we were both the same age. I mean, he's still a rich, pretentious asshole who needs to get a reality check, but now it just makes more sense as to why he is a rich and pretentious asshole, or why he was reacting that way. So I always recommend it to friends, especially around their senior year of high school to probably their senior year of college, because it's around that time frame where you're just confused and you really don't know what's going on with your life, and you're trying to make do and it's not really working. But you know, that's just how life is. Damn it, I forgot a book. The next book in this list is the Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Now, I have very mixed feelings about this. Like, I love the books. I love the concept of the books, the fantasy aspect that I had grown up with and everything, and the idea of having magic. I loved it. It's just more so after the series ended where things started to go a little... But I can talk about that for ages in a different book. But other than that, like, this is definitely one of the books that had gotten me more into fantasy and more into the idea of, like, having, like, the idea that family doesn't end in blood, to quote Supernatural, and that you can choose family and you can probably love them more. But right now, this little guy, who is not family, has been messing with my tripod, so I'm not loving him a whole lot right now. But that is it for these books that are kind of the roadmap to my soul. Not as emotional as the original video that I filmed, but what are you gonna do about it? But if you like these kind of videos, I love being able to talk about myself more via books, just because I think it's booktube, so why not talk about yourself in book form? So, and then comment if any of these books have changed your life for the better or for worse, or if you have a video idea you guys want me to do. I would really like to hear more about it. I try to upload every Saturday and Wednesday, so subscribe so you don't miss out. All my social media links are down below. If you're looking for more bookish content, it's definitely going to be at Bookish Therese, so you don't really need to miss out. And other than that, I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Bye.